here, and about 70 to 80% of our incoming freshmen at the community colleges in California have to take remedial math or remedial English, which is like a shocking number. You know, we're the largest system of higher education in the country. We've got 2.2 million students, and yet, and you think about that, right? And 70, 80% of the kids need remedial. That is a huge number of kids, and that has a huge impact on their success in life. So, if you come to the community colleges and you're prepared for college level work, you have a 70% chance of getting your associate's degree or your certificate and to transfer into a four-year institution. If you're not ready, you have less than a 40% chance of getting that degree or certificate or transferring. So it's you're setting up a lot of kids for failure by not having them ready. And so, which brings me to the topic tonight is like, what does the future look like for education, especially in view of education technology? So there's a lot of educational technological innovation that's coming into the classrooms, not just here in California, but across the nation. We're gonna have a great panel, coming up with Joe and Ben and Esther and Mohammed. Pretty good, right? I remember everybody's name. and Margaret. And we're going to be talking about the various aspects of the education technology revolution in this country. And let me just tell you a little bit though about the research that we've done in this space. One of the things that we've been really focused on is this new innovation called blended learning. For those of you who aren't familiar with that, who aren't reading education journals every day of your life, blended learning is where it's kind of a melding of traditional classroom instruction with computer-assisted instruction, and there's a lot of different ways it can be actually implemented. I'll tell you about one particular way. I visited a school called the Greenway Academy, which is actually down in Kern County. If you went down Highway 99 into the middle of nowhere, you'd come upon this little town of Arvin. And there's a place called Greenway Academy Charter School there, and the place is like, basically 100% low-income kids, all minority. Most of the kids are coming from migrant families, and yet this school is a very high-performing school. And one of the reasons for that is because they have a blended learning model of instruction. So what this school does is that they have maybe about 75% of their instruction during the day in your typical traditional classroom, right? But for about 25% of the day, maybe about 100 minutes or so, what they do is they rotate the kids into a learning laboratory, which has computers, but also has interactive and adaptive software programs that really address the individual needs of the kids and where they are. So, as opposed to being in a classroom where everybody's taught to some common denominator, the software is able to personalize and individualize and differentiate the actual instruction that the kids receive. And whenever the kids are having problems, the data from those programs are then funneled to the teachers and those who are overseeing the kids' instruction, and they can be pulled out and given help immediately, as opposed to then finding out 2 weeks later on a chapter test that they're doing terrible, and they should have known that a couple weeks before, right? So this is all happening more in real time, and because of that, you see these kids who are coming from probably one of the most at-risk demographics in California actually doing very, very well. In fact, 80 to 90% of the kids are performing at the proficient level in mathematics. And that's a really incredible statistic, especially given the fact that most of California kids are not. And so I think there's a lot of potential. We've actually done several books on this educational technological revolution, especially blended learning. Just in case you're interested, our most recent book is called Moonshots in Education, and it looks at this phenomenon of blended learning. And this book actually is, I'm really happy about this, is that it's gone international. It's become so popular that Random House International has actually published this book in Spanish. It is now being distributed all throughout Latin America. And This other book is called Short Circuited, and this is really more about the regulatory challenges that face online education. And so in California, we have some very obsolete regulations that prevent online learning from spreading. And one of the things, for example, is that if you are in, let's say, a school where kids receive their education virtually, that you can't receive that education if you are not in a school that is contiguous, that is in a county that is contiguous with the county in which the instruction is being delivered over the internet, right? So it's as if the internet or the instruction stopped at the county line, which doesn't make any sense, right? And so, so there are a lot of those sorts of things in California. And I want to do a quick shout out. My former policy fellow who helped me research this book, Elliot Parisi, is in the back of the room there, and he came all the way out from down in Palo Alto. Thanks, Elliot, for all your help with this book. But anyway, we've done a lot of work in this education technology space, and we just had a very successful conference on blended learning at the state capitol in California, where we brought together practitioners, state legislators, and we had a packed house, because I think that this is the type of issue which really cuts across ideological party lines, because I think it really offers that type of instruction that is just simply successful to kids, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the comments of all our panelists, because a lot of them are with startups, a lot of them are trying to help teachers deal with this education revolution. I think one of the big challenges, and I'll leave you with this, is that if we want to see this revolution succeed in the future, we need to have our teachers be able to use these tools effectively. And because one of the things in writing these books that I've heard over and over again from the people who have created these companies that do adaptive software and other technological companies, that the teachers just aren't ready to be able to use these tools. And so this one teacher I interviewed, who actually wrote a book on blended learning, said that at most 5 to 10% of the teachers coming out of the schools of education are actually really ready to use these sorts of blended learning models in the classroom. And we have to do a lot better than that, especially given the fact that countries like Singapore and South Korea, virtually every teacher in those countries are able to use these technological tools, and they have, like in Singapore, whole weeks devoted only to e-learning, because every teacher in the country is able to do that. And if we were able to do that, the whole system would implode. So anyway, with that, I just want to thank you all very much for being here tonight. I want to thank Stephanie Watson, who has been such a great leader of YLC, and all the other folks who make this event possible. So thanks a lot, and we'll look forward to talking with you during our Q&A session.